Hey, we're back on the channel today, but we're going to focus a little bit on my Southern Kentucky and lake life. So we're going to start a series, and in that we've got a couple of videos already about lake life in the Nashville and Tennessee area. They are, Gallatin and Hendersonville and the different areas around the lakes there. Definitely talked about that in the, Donaldson, Hermitage area as well. So we're going to actually talk about the real LBL. We're going to talk about Lake Barkley in particular and the MSA area, Metro Statistical Area, Clarksville, Hopkinsville, Cadiz, and Dover, and how that area of the country actually offers great real estate, great life, great outdoor activities, and why it's so attractive to so many people moving to the area. So when we're talking about land between the lakes, when we're talking about the lakes in particular, what are we talking about? We're talking about the Cumberland River, which is known as Lake Barkley up in Kentucky, and that's in a town called Cadiz, not Cadiz. It can certainly be mispronounced. And while we're on that, there's part of Ken Lake in a town called Catawba. It's not Cuttawa, so we'll help you with those names if they get confusing. But just to let you know, Barkley is a massive man-made lake located primarily in Kentucky, with a small portion of it extending into Tennessee, which is down in Dover, and it was formed by damming the Cumberland River by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So it's one of the largest lakes in the eastern United States, boasting over 1,000 miles of shoreline, and the vastness provides ample space for all kinds of activities and real estate and whatnot. So we're going to touch on that. You also have the Tennessee River, which forms Ken Lake, Kentucky Lake. So those bordering our two states, it's amazing how quickly you could get from one town in Tennessee to a town in Kentucky if you go by the waterways. It's why we were so important during the Civil War, and frankly, these areas were absolutely imperative all during the creation of our country. That is a wonderful trade route. It goes all the way down to Memphis, all the way down to the Gulf of America. Lots of different things to say about the waterways and the areas in this Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky region, which is why we're talking about it today. So stick with me. We're going to tell you all about some of that lake life, why it's so appealing, some land and what the real estate is like over there. And because I'm licensed in both states, I am a realtor, I do want your business, I can actually help you in both of those situations. So if it's a Tennessee side, we've got you covered, have been for 22 years. If it's a Kentucky side, I've got you covered. I've been licensed in Kentucky for 21 years. So get on, like and subscribe to the channel, put your comments down below, and stick with me while we talk about land between the lakes, particularly that Lake Barkley area today. So when you're talking about Lake Barkley, it's considered a paradise for the water enthusiasts. It has a lot of popular activities. You've got boating, from pontoons to speedboats. You also have sailing and kayaking. You have big yachts on Lake Barkley. The fishing is renowned for its excellent fishing, and it's particularly for bass and crappie and catfish and bluegill. So many tournaments are held annually there. Swimming and water sports are also big in Lake Barkley. You have numerous public beaches and coves that are perfect for swimming and jet skiing and tubing on the lakes. It's a lot of fun, and we'll talk a little bit about the winter and summer pools as well. The natural beauty of Lake Barkley and the land between the lakes area it is absolutely beautiful. The shoreline and its characteristics, including the rolling hills and the beautiful trees, dense forestry. I mean, it really makes for a beautiful environment. Those dense forests define those shorelines really beautifully, and it makes it just a wonderful place if you can find land up there to get that perfect venue or second home, primary home, great place to retire. I know a lot of people who've retired down at the lakes because they want that constant beauty, outdoor, gorgeous shoreline look. Your marinas and your resorts along those shores are found in a lot of places. You have various marinas and resorts and campgrounds catering to visitors looking for accommodations and services. So land between the lakes is a national recreation area, and it is absolutely beautiful. So what you have and what defines land between the lakes, and this is the real land between the lakes, the real LBL National Recreation Area. It's separating Lake Barkley from its sister lake, Kentucky Lake, and it's the land between those lakes, and it's a unique peninsula that is federally managed, and it's dedicated to conservation, recreation, and environmental education. Now, when I was growing up, we used to take field trips there. Our parents would take us there. It's the 170,000 acre forested peninsula, approximately 40 miles long and 8 miles wide, nestled between Lake Barkley and Kentucky Lake to the west. Now, like I said, there are definitely numerous campgrounds, from developed sites to primitive backcountry options too. Hundreds of miles of hiking and biking trails, so lots to do up there. You can do horseback riding and mountain biking, and so there's lots to do other than your water sports, which obviously, are many. So wildlife viewing, let me tell you, at LBL, it's home to diverse wildlife. So you have deer and wild turkeys, you have bald eagles, even bison, and an elk enclosure as well. And I always thought that was really cool about the area. You do have homesteads and nature centers. There's historical sites like the Home Place 1850s Working Farm, which offers a glimpse into the frontier life, and nature centers provide educational programs. So like I said, we would go on field trips as young kids, both when I lived in Tennessee and in Kentucky, because again, it is the land between the lakes, and you could get there so quickly from both sides. And so that's two different states migrating in. You actually have a lot of different people that come to LBL from Illinois and Arkansas, Indiana, Tennessee, Kentucky. So it really has a wonderful flow of people throughout the central and Midwest part of the United States. It's a wonderful place to go. You have a planetarium, an observatory, which is the Golden Pond Planetarium and Observatory, which offers stargazing and educational shows. It's managed in their conservation focus to protect its natural and cultural resources while providing recreational opportunities, making it a valuable ecological area. Okay, when it comes to shopping and things around Lake Barkley, you definitely have things that cater to both your local residents and their convenience and your outdoor activities as well. So you'll have some local boutiques and specialty shops in Cadiz, at Lake Barkley, and certainly over in Catawba. You have places in between. You have a wonderful village that has patties on the pier. You have great restaurants that will focus on the lake and whatnot. So that's neat. That's wonderful attractions and things like that. Grand Rivers, Eddyville, Kentucky. You'll also find charming local shops that'll sell gifts and antiques and crafts and unique souvenirs as well. So you have a historic downtown in Cadiz that's really cute. You have a lot of really darling stores, maybe even in the business district of Cadiz. I know one is Gigi's, and it's a really cute place. Shout out to Gigi's if you're shopping in that Cadiz Lake Barkley area. But wonderful areas to go and shop and pick up, local items, things that you can't get anywhere else, and certainly the things that you are used to and need as well. You do have a lot of outdoor and sporting goods stores as well. So, the emphasis is on boating and fishing and camping. And so you're usually going to have all the stores that you need that will help you with, your fishing, your tackle bait, your boating supplies, all the things that you need, outdoor apparel and gear for things like that as well. So, and obviously we're going to have some grocery stores. So they may be a little smaller than the ones you're used to dealing with in your big city environment. But hey, you may have gotten up to Lake Barkley. You may have bought real estate up there, or in that Ken Lake area, just for your family retreat, or for possibly an Airbnb situation where you definitely rent it out, or maybe you have a family compound and stay at the lake for a week, or have that family reunion. So get away from all that hustle and bustle of that big Nashville city life, or that big Cincinnati city life, Louisville, Lexington. You're getting out of that, Paducah, and you're coming to the lake to settle in and relax for a little while. So let me talk just a little bit about these communities communities and the differences between them, okay? So when you're talking about having a home at the lake or on the lake, can I have a boat dock? Well, the Corps of Engineer owns your shoreline. They are going to determine whether or not it is safe and whether or not you're able to have a boat dock. I absolutely recommend you call or email and talk to the Corps of Engineer about if you need to know about a specific property that you're thinking of purchasing. I've even heard, and I will not say that this is true for all of them, but I have heard of properties that they have a boat dock, they're selling it, but it's not grandfathered into you automatically. It is allowed as long as that owner owns it. So there are things to check out. We want to make sure that we're correct when we're doing that. I'm here to help you every step of the way through that. When you're talking about the communities and what they're like, let's talk about Cadiz, for instance. It's a hub for Lake Barkley and that region. Cadiz is home to numerous subdivisions that are on the lake or, near the lake, and individual properties with direct access to the lake. The area features also a lot of rental cabins, and it gives it a really robust resort feel as well. You also have the Barkley Lake Lodge that is there, and so right there in Cadiz, it's a wonderful place. You're right there, 10 minutes away from Cadiz, and just a beautiful outdoor recreational setting as well. But definitely have some massive homes on the lake, several $1 million on the lake, some with their docks, some without, communities that offer lesser expensive properties, absolutely gorgeous, a lot to offer in the Cadiz area. Now, when you get to Grand Rivers in Kentucky, you're situated at the northern end of LBL, and Grand Rivers is known for its access to both Lake Barkley and Kentucky Lake. It features upscale Green Turtle Bay Resort, which includes waterfront condos for permanent and seasonal residents, along with a full-service marina as well. In Catawba, you're talking about a community near the lake, which features rental cabins and access to marinas like Buzzard Rock Marina. Doesn't that make you feel down home and away from it all? And then in Dover, on the southern end of the lake in Tennessee, you are in a community that's not far from Clarksville. It's certainly in the Clarksville MSA. Dover offers a variety of waterfront properties and lake homes as well. And Dover has a very historic story also. So when we're talking about the Clarksville, Hopkinsville, Dover, Cadiz MSA, we're including all of those counties, which are Trigg for Cadiz, Stewart County for Dover. Those are in the LBL MSA. So you have both Kentucky and Tennessee in that MSA for that land between the lakes area. So it's very vast and pretty awesome. So when you're talking about the population of this 4-city area, which I've talked about on other videos, Clarksville is our 5th largest city in Tennessee. When you're coming from Nashville, depending on where you're going in Clarksville, that could be 30 to 45 minutes of a drive, and that just depends on where you're going to go. You're talking about 360,000 people that live in that 4-county area at least. And so it's a large, well-documented area of my Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky area that we talk about and focus on this channel. So let's talk about who owns property at Lake Barkley or even in land between the lakes or those areas, okay? They can be divided into 2 main categories, okay? You have full-time residents and seasonal second homeowners. All right, so full-time residents are more likely to be locals from nearby areas. Maybe, they grew up in Hopkinsville, they retired at the lake, or grew up in, Nashville and retired at a different lake, that kind of thing, okay? So full-time residents are more likely to be locals from Kentucky or the Tennessee communities that I just mentioned, while second homeowners are often from metropolitan areas within a few hours from there. So when we talk about that, Evansville, Indiana, down in Illinois, they come over from Paducah, Kentucky, which is, right at the far west end of Kentucky. Definitely, an hour's drive from there. Definitely people from Nashville, few hours. You're not but an hour and a half, depending on the west side of Nashville. You're 50 miles from Clarksville, so you're about an hour and a half drive from Nashville to Lake Barkley. So, and you're even closer if you're going down to Dover. So your primary residences for those second homeowners are awfully nice. They're very big. Many seasonal homeowners are oftentimes business professionals or physicians, all sorts of types of professionals that have lived in other areas and want that getaway, but they don't want to necessarily go, 10 hours away to the beach. They want that lake life, or maybe they're hunters, or maybe they've had families in the area. And so it's a great way for everybody to come back together because they still have that lake house and we can all go visit each other. So when you are, like I said, an hour and a half away in Nashville, you're only 90 miles south of Lake Barkley. And Nashville's a major metropolitan area that offers a lot of vacation home option buyers. So its residents can easily reach the lake, like I said, in an hour and a half. When I'm talking about the Clarksville area of people, you are also talking about tech-savvy business owners, professionals of all types coming in from Clarksville and Hopkinsville that go to the lakes. Evansville and Paducah absolutely have a lot of the exact same type of people that go to the lakes that may be retiring there or just have that second vacation home. You definitely have a large population that owns property at the lakes. Now, who else lives at the lakes? Well, you have a lot of retirees. Like I said, you definitely have vacation people. You have retired military. You have actual military that's currently affiliated with Fort Campbell oftentimes. People like to get off the grid. People don't mind driving. People have lived in other areas of the world. People have lived in other areas of the country. A drive of 30 to 45 minutes for somebody who has lived in a great big city like I have is nothing. Maybe it's a decompression drive time. So you have a lot of wonderful options in people who live in the lakes and at the lakes because they love that outdoorsy feel. They love that small town charm. Maybe they don't want to live in the hustle and bustle of the city and absolutely like to hunt and fish and swim and do all that outdoor activity that's so fun. Let's talk about some of the fun things that we do year round in the season. So obviously in the summer we've got boating. The marinas are fully operational with rentals available for pontoons and fishing boats and jet skis. So that's really neat too. You don't always have to have those. You can come and actually rent those and have a wonderful time. So that's also great. We used to own a boat. That's a lot of maintenance on my lands. You're just a hostage to your boat. It's really fun to have friends with boats so you can visit and be on theirs and be a good guest and bring things but not have that responsibility. But I have got to say that it's a wonderful life, and it's nice to know that you can have rental options as well. When you're swimming, obviously you have definitely different places that you can go. Visitors may enjoy, the public swimming beaches. You may definitely want to swim more at the lodge and just overlook the lake. I mean, you've got some options here that are really, really nice. So, and certainly if you have a home that has a pool, that's a beautiful setting to swim and look out over the lake, but actually be in your own swimming pool. Camping options, you definitely have that all summer long, and many campgrounds. So you have from the kind where you almost just, where you pull up and load up your RV, or you could actually get primitive and sleep on that ground. You've got a lot of options out there. So you've got Prizer Point is full of visitors enjoying that lakeside fun too. And then you have the fishing that you can do, and anglers actually enjoy the long days on the water and targeting their bass or their crappie and other fish. We got catfish too. Okay, now as the temperatures cool and the summer crowds thin out, you definitely have fall, and it's a popular time at the lakes for scenic beauty and for a more tranquil experience. Now, you definitely have your scenic viewing. The land between the lakes offers that stunning fall foliage. I mean, it is absolutely beautiful when the leaves change in the fall in any of our state parks in Tennessee and Kentucky. So it's just absolutely breathtaking and worth being here. You definitely have the scenic byway to drive, which is a popular way to see the changing colors. And fall fishing is a fantastic thing, and it's a favorite for many anglers. So they know what they're doing. I'm not one of those girls, but I've got friends that do this for a living. I've heard that the fish begin to feed more aggressively in the cooler water water. So that might be something. Maybe they fatten up. I don't care. I like to eat them. I don't fish them. When you're hiking, the cooler weather is obviously ideal for exploring the many hiking trails in LBL. And you have local festivals in the fall. It's home to local events like the Tree County Ham Festival, which is in nearby Cadiz. If you drive through Cadiz, there's a pig on every corner. It's cute. It's painted. It's darling. And they have their little fall festivals. And Kentucky's known for their ham, just like Tennessee is too. So I recommend that. What do you do in the winter? Well, in the winter, it's obviously beautiful. We definitely have that seasonal transitions. We get snow and we get ice, and you know, it could be a little more treacherous there on those curvy roads, but we usually get those in January and February, and they don't stay long, and that's really great about our seasons over here in Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. I've got to say that while many marinas close down or offer reduced services, winter still offers some popular options and activities, okay? You definitely have eagle watching. Lake Barkley and LBL are prime spots for viewing bald eagles in January and February, and I can tell you, my father was a radiologist in Princeton, Kentucky. If you got in a wreck, a boat wreck or something like that, he was probably the one reading your CAT scan or your MRI, and at all hours of the night. But I can tell you, he had two eagles that he just loved. He called them Sam and Samantha. He would watch them all the time as he drove over from his home in Hopkinsville to Princeton, which is about 45 minutes for him to drive to work every day for, I don't know, 25 years. You know, so anyway, indoor amenities at Lake Barkley definitely are available there, open year round. You have a lot of things that happen there. Mentioning my dad, he started Barkley Lake Radiological Society, so there were always different groups and meetings that go on there. That was just one of them, but there's a lot to do at the state resorts whenever you go, and sometimes they may be business meetings and things like that, which you can definitely have at the resorts. Okay, let's get into hunting, because I was raised with hunters. My daddy and brothers were all, if it flies, it dies. We ate it, of course, but you know, there's hunting season over there, and the Land Between the Lakes is a popular destination for seasonal hunting. And I can say that definitely goes on down in Dover too. I mean, they get these blinds. These men are serious hunters, and they go to their blind drawing contest down in Dover too. So I'm going to tell you that men from this area like to hunt and fish and hike and bike, and it's a great area for that. And as long as they'll turn us loose to go shopping over in our cute little areas, I don't think a woman around here minds not one bit, especially when they eat that good waterfowl. In the spring, what do you do around the LBL area? Well, you have your spring crappie, and that's the fishing, and it's well known, and it attracts many people who are fishermen. And your wildflowers and birding are happening. You have your awakening landscape, which is absolutely awesome, and it offers opportunity for viewing all of those with a wide variety of birds as well. And of course, the campgrounds are opening, and you have outdoor events that are really fun at LBL. You can get on that boat. Campgrounds and parks, including those run by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, begin to open up for the season. So that becomes a really fun and enchanting time. Now, when we talk about winter pool and summer pool, I will tell you now that they are dropping that water down starting July 1st. According to the Corps of Engineers, they have a time frame where we reduce the water in the lake so your shorelines become greater, definitely reducing that water so that we can afford and handle that spring floods or possibly even some hurricane stuff that comes in the fall. When it starts July 1st to reduce the water in these lakes, we are absolutely controlling the flooding and the overflow and the things like that that are so important to this Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky area. These things are real. They do happen. We do have a lot of water. That is why it's so pretty. It is lush. We can have flooding that comes in from other areas. So it's a very serious thing when you grow up around the lakes and you grow up with the Corps of Engineers. You learn why these things are so important, and it's a wonderful thing to actually have that relationship. They handle so many states. I just learned this the other day, that they don't just handle Tennessee and Kentucky, which I would have thought was true, but that is not true. They actually handle like 7 states. So the Corps of Engineers is very, very important to all of our surrounding areas for maintaining our water levels and making sure that we don't flood unnecessarily and horribly. I mean, we had the Great Flood of 2010 in the area. Nashville peaked 52 feet. Clarksville, when they opened up the dams to offset that, peaked 62 feet. It was a horrible situation and flooding situation that did cost lives, and it is something that's very serious. So when you're living on the waterways and you're living in these areas, we absolutely suggest that you get to know about that, but we are so grateful for our Corps of Engineers for protecting us and helping us with these things. So it's a really neat thing when you grow up around those lakes to understand and get an understanding of what that winter pool is, when they start letting the waters rise, and why they do that. It's just a whole learning experience all in itself. LBL is a recreation area. It's a 170,000 acre inland peninsula that was created in the 1960s by the federal government. It lies between the Tennessee Valley Authority's Kentucky Lake and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Lake Barkley. The area stretches across both Kentucky and Tennessee and is now managed by the U.S. Forest Service. Now, we talk about a little history on my channel. Let me tell you about this. The creation of the recreation area involved a forced displacement and relocation of approximately 2,700 people who lived in the communities within that peninsula, such as Golden Pond. And it has several historic sites. Several remnants of the former communities can still be seen in LBL, including over 270 known cemeteries. Other historic sites include the ruins of the 19th century iron furnaces. The economic demonstration was that it was originally designated to show how converting a natural resource poor area into a recreational asset could stimulate the economy of the area. When it comes to wildlife and diverse, ecosystems, LBL includes forests, wetlands, and open lands, providing a habitat for diverse wildlife, including the golden eagle and the bald eagles. And the wildlife reintroduction in the 1980s is when we got the bald eagles and osprey were successfully reintroduced to that area. So we're very proud of our area. We know how beautiful it is. Everybody in the area appreciates that natural beauty. It is lovely. It is breathtaking. So I definitely want to do on our lake series different areas around LBL and in the Tennessee and the Kentucky side. These two states are sister states. They are just right there together. People live and work across those lines all the time. They come over and play. You're not far from Nashville. Nashville is our biggest community nearby. You have more people from the Nashville area than you do from, say, a Lexington, Kentucky area, because of the geographical location of it coming to this area. You definitely have them, like I said, coming in from Illinois and Indiana and, from Paducah, Kentucky, west. So wonderful area in which to consider buying or in developing in real estate. All right, let's talk about our borders of land between the lakes really quickly. Kentucky Lake forms the western border. It's the official boundary, and it's 354-foot contour line, so the property closely follows that shoreline to define that western part of LBL. The eastern part is Lake Barkley, which forms the eastern boundary of LBL, and it's the official boundary of 359-foot contour line closely following the shoreline. Northern boundary is the Barkley Canal, and that connects the two lakes. And the town of Cadiz is just outside LBL's eastern boundary on Lake Barkley. And then the south extends south into Stewart County, Tennessee, which is Dover, and that serves as our primary access point to the southern end of LBL. So if you want to get on and you want to look for land in that Cadiz area or along the shorelines of Lake Barkley, call me. text me, DM me, get on, leave your comments down below. There's a lot to say about the area. I absolutely have 100 acres for sale up there that does include shoreline and is absolutely beautiful. So get on and ask me about that as well. Wanted to talk to you about these areas, why it would be good for you to move there, why you might consider a second home there. Would you go up there and develop if you're a developer? Absolutely. Do you have opportunity to make money or get away from the hustle and bustle, to have fun, to have family outdoor activities? Would you love to get off the grid? You can do that, and all of those things can be done in this Lake Barkley, Kentucky Lake, even Dover areas, and in these parts of Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. So stick with me. We are going to continue with our lake life offering on the channel, and definitely like and subscribe and leave your comments down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.